everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video I'm kind of excited about actually. I want to talk to you guys about the difference between going with a obstetrician slash gynecologist versus a midwife throughout your pregnancy, labor, delivery, and postpartum period. I'm 30 weeks pregnant, almost 31 weeks with my third baby, so I've been to both, and I kind of want to share my experience with both and tell you the pros and cons of going to both, just so that if you are pregnant or if you're thinking of getting pregnant and you would like a little bit more information and help in deciding who you will go see for your care, you know, I'm just kind of hoping that this video will give you that help and, you know, that little last bit of insight and can maybe help you push you to make a better, like not a better decision, but push you to make that decision that you're kind of hesitant about or whatever. Obviously I'm not a professional or anything. This is just based on my experience and also the experiences of others, mostly mine, but a lot of others as well. And also midwives and doctors vary. So this is again based on my experience with my specific doctor and my specific midwives. Okay, also before I just quickly before I jump into the video, I will be posting sometime this week the difference between home birth slash hospital birth. I haven't had a home birth. I've only had a hospital birth. Once with the doctors, once with the midwives. But I will be talking to you about a home birth because I will be having a home birth. So if you're interested in seeing my reasoning for having a home birth and why I chose that option and all that, or why I will be choosing that option and all that, then stay tuned because that video hopefully will be posted the day after this one or not long after at least. Okay. So basically I will start with the obstetrician. I saw an obstetrician slash gynecologist who was a male. I will not give a name, but he was a male doctor. I saw him for my very first pregnancy. So I was, just to give you a little bit of background info, I was 19 years old. I got married at 19 and then got pregnant 2 months after. So I was really young. So I was 19 years old. I was in school studying to be a doctor. And just was very not stressed, but very like not sure about what to expect. Obviously it being my first, I haven't been through labor. I don't know how my body was going to handle everything. I didn't know how I would handle everything being so young. And I was kind of, when I was placed with that decision, like I need to seek out care obviously for my pregnancy and all that, I was kind of like midwives or obstetrician. That's kind of what was there. Those are the options. And I weighed out both of them, but I always was kind of leaning more towards the obstetrician because it was my first, and I was kind of like, I don't know if the midwives might know everything or what if there's an emergency. I just really liked that kind of like that comfort of having a doctor. That being said, my mom, I'm from a family of 7, so my mom had 7 children. The first 4 she had doctors, the last 3 she had midwives. And I was there, not in during the labor obviously, but I was in the house or around the area, and I saw how the midwives were with her. I saw how they took care of her and everything like that. So it's not that I thought that they were like incapable. I was just, and I know how much she loved midwives, I was just kind of leaning towards doctor for my first. So that's kind of just gives you the background. So basically, I'll tell you the pros and cons of seeing the doctor. So I chose the obstetrician, and in terms of visits and amount of visits you will have, it's the same between midwives and obstetrician. So in the beginning, you go once a month, and then it gets to like twice a month, and then every week as you progress through your pregnancy. So the good things about going to seeing a doctor was that he was a doctor, so I know that I could trust whatever he said, and I felt comfortable. The appointments, I'm going to be honest, were awful. I always waited 4 hours, but that was just my doctor. He was so busy. There was never enough seats for all the women in his care. It was just packed. But that, again, that's just my doctor. It might not be the case for all of them. But I would go, if my appointment was at 1, I would be there like waiting from maybe 1 till about 3, 4, sometimes even 5 o'clock waiting to get in to see him, just because he was so backed up. And a lot of the times too, he would leave in the middle of the day while everyone's sitting there because he had an emergency like C-section or something he had to go and do. So emergency surgery, he would run and do it and then he'd come back. So we're all kind of just sitting there. So being pregnant and having a doctor on call as, you know, taking care of you, that wasn't the greatest thing because I was so uncomfortable. Obviously I didn't want to sit there all the time. I had things to do, places to be. I was in school. I just had a lot going on. So I was kind of like, this is really frustrating. So that was the first thing I didn't like. The next thing was I found that when I finally did get in to see him, and again, this might just be my doctor, but when I finally got in to see him, it was hi, bye, check my temperature, check this, blah, blah, and gone. He didn't want to spend any time with me. He didn't have time to spend time with me because he had a waiting room full of patients. The only time I ever got anything out of him was when it was that week where they had to update you on something like gestational diabetes or the Group B strep test, blood work, ultrasounds. That's when he would sit with me for like an extra second and just kind of be like, here's this test, here's your paperwork, you gotta go do it. So he never gave me information either on why I needed to do the gestational diabetes test. He also never gave me a choice. I never knew I had a choice to take these certain tests or not to. So the Group B strep, he just one day handed me like the swab and he's like, go to the washroom, do your thing, give it to the secretary, see ya. And I didn't even know. I was like, why am I doing this? I knew nothing about groups like strep B. I honestly was not pregnant before, obviously, so I honestly had no clue what to expect. So, or what anything was. So I was kind of like, why am I doing this test? What's going on? Then he was like, you need to get tested for this. You need to get your blood work for this. Like I said, he never told me anything was optional. He just said I had to do it, and he never ever gave me information on what it was or why I needed to do it. So being a first-time pregnant lady, I had so many questions in my head, and when I would sit there and try to ask him questions, he would give me the fastest answer, or sometimes he would just be like, oh, it's you just because you need to, and he would walk out and leave and go to the next patient. Like, it literally was that bad. So my husband always came to my appointments with me. He missed maybe one or two because he was working, but he would be sitting there and he's like, this is ridiculous. We have no information. So I always found myself coming home and Googling is not the same as getting the information direct. So that was kind of like what really frustrated me about, you know, the doctor, about, you know, going to see a doctor, is he was so busy. He had too many patients to look after, and it was just really hard. The next thing that I want to talk about is, and that I didn't like with the doctor was, and this is gonna be a long video, I'm just letting you know ahead of time, but the next thing that I want to talk about is how they treated you. So he said when I was 40 weeks pregnant and there was obviously no signs of labor or anything, so he checked me and he was like, you're, you know, 3 centimeters dilated at 40 weeks. And he said, you know, the baby's head is +1. So clearly the baby's in your pelvis and you're dilating. But if this baby isn't here at week 41, then we're going to schedule an induction. So they are not very like, they kind of aren't really like the natural holistic path. They're kind of more like, we're just going to schedule a time to get this baby out if it's not out because I can't hold on to you as a patient much longer type of thing. So, 41 weeks came and I wasn't in labor. I had no signs, no contractions, nothing. So they scheduled my induction and he said, all right, you'll get a call and you'll come in. And when they call you, you have to come in and you'll get induced. So that was just kind of how that worked out. And at this point I was kind of like, okay, I just want to get induced. I want to get this baby out of me because I was so, you know, exhausted being pregnant. But at the same time, until my second time around, I didn't realize how bad an induction actually was and what it did to my body, which I kind of will get into a little bit, but I did make a labor and delivery story on my channel if you're interested in seeing it for my first baby. But yeah, so then they called me. I went in at 42 weeks pregnant and they induced me. He wasn't even there. He wasn't the doctor that I had. So even though I had him for my entire care, when I got induced, I had whoever was on call. So that's another thing you have to think about when you're going to a doctor, is you might not have that doctor deliver your baby. Whoever delivers your baby, if you're with a doctor, is who is on call at that time. So if you don't happen to go into labor on the time that he's in call, you won't have him or her. So that is kind of sucks too, because you kind of start getting comfortable and used to that person, and then all of a sudden you're in labor and it's like terrifying. You've never done it before. And you're not really sure what to expect, and then you have a stranger there who's trying to deliver your baby. I don't know if that, you know, is important to a lot of you, but to me it was. So basically the nurses were doing everything. They started the drip, they did all that for me, and the only time I ever saw a doctor was at the end to come catch the baby. My labor was horrific. I didn't have meds either, but that's not why it was so awful. It was the whole experience was awful. The induction was awful. They made a lot of mistakes at the hospital. I don't want to go into it too much because this video will be forever, but I did make a labor and delivery story, so you can check that out. But the whole thing, like I said, it was really bad. They just did everything wrong, and I was kind of just sitting there at the end. They had to use a vacuum to get the baby out. He was large, but I think the biggest thing that had to do with it was that they didn't give me enough time to dilate before telling me to push. There was just a lot of things. So my experience was brutal and awful, and after that I said, I don't want any more kids. This is not worth it for me. My body was destroyed. I had pretty bad tears. I had prolapse issues. If you're checking out my channel, you'll know about the issues that have been caused by, you know, such a traumatic birth, etc. So it was really bad. And then now moving on to the postpartum time in care with the doctor. You got one visit at 6 weeks postpartum with that doctor, and basically they just check, make sure that, you know, your stitches have fallen out if you had stitches, and make sure your blood pressure's okay, and that's about it. They don't really ask how your labor went, especially that he wasn't there to deliver it. They don't really ask anything like that, and they just kind of send you on your way, and they're done with you, and they will never see you again unless you go back for care again. So I was kind of on my own after I gave birth. I came home. I was in the hospital for 2 days, and I was on my own. I had no one checking up on me. Obviously, like, I mean, I had my family, but I mean no one like medical checking up on me, you know, making sure things were okay. I had a lot of severe complications. I ended up being back in the hospital a couple days after I gave birth for other reasons, again on my channel. And none of it I had my doctor around to tell me what to do or why things were happening, etc. So that was very, very frustrating. So that left me to honestly not like doctors. Not like them, but not like them for pregnancy and all that. Now that being said, this was just my experience with my doctor, so do keep that in mind. But the things you can take away from this is that you might not get your doctor to deliver your baby unless you're having a scheduled C-section. Then he for sure will be there. Your appointments are fast. At least the doctor I had didn't really give me much information, and you don't really have any postpartum care whatsoever. They don't come to the house, obviously, and you don't even go to them except at 6 weeks. So there's just a lot of things you can to think about before choosing to go to the doctor. Moving on to midwives now. They kind of, like I said, the appointments are the same like regularity as doctor. What I liked about the midwives a lot, I chose the midwives the second time around because my experience was so bad with the doctors that I was like, I'm just gonna give it a shot. I at least know what to expect in labor. So I chose midwives, but I chose to have it in the hospital. I said, if I do have any complications and they need a vacuum and they need certain things, at least I'll be right in the hospital, and it's, you know, it's right there. But I would be in the care of midwives. The biggest thing that I wanted was to have whoever I had taking care of me and looking after me through my, you know, pregnancy and my checkups, they would be there to deliver my baby, because you kind of build that relationship, and I feel way more safe and secure having someone I know there to take care of me, and someone who knows my body and everything, and who's been, you know, with me the whole time. So that was why I chose midwives. Anyway, so the appointments are kind of the same regularity, but completely different. First of all, there's no way, at least for where I go, my appointment's at 2 o'clock, my appointment is that too. I go there and I go right into the room. They allow a 45-minute time slot for each women's appointment. So the thing I like about midwives that's different than a doctor is that doctors will just keep accepting patients, and that's it. Midwives only can accept so many. So they basically take all the midwives that they have, however many they have, and they divide it. I don't know the whole thing, but they divide it basically on the amount of patients and the amount of times in the day that they work, etc., etc. And then they won't accept anymore. So a lot of times you might call the midwife and they'll say, I'm sorry, we are booked. We can't accept you as a patient unless someone has a miscarriage. A miscarriage, so they end up not needing care, and then they will take you on, etc. So that's why if you do want a midwife and you found out you're pregnant, call right away. Don't wait until a little bit further in your pregnancy, because you might not get in with them. Okay, anyway, so basically, you'd go to your appointment and they allow a 45-minute time slot. No one takes 45 minutes. No one needs 45 minutes. But if you need your 45 minutes, you have it. So first of all, you're not sitting in a waiting room waiting forever, because everybody has 45 minutes that no one even takes that time. So when you go to your appointment, there's not even anyone waiting because no one's there. The next thing is that you do not feel rushed, and they do not rush you. So because you have 45 minutes, they will spend as much time as you need. So any questions that you have, they will answer, and they go into detail about every single test that you have to take or don't have to take. And they tell you your options. You can take this and you don't. And if you choose not to, they tell you the risks or side effects or pros and cons, etc. They will tell you everything. So you are so educated and informed that whatever decision you make, you feel so good about, because they're there. Not only do they support you and back you up on whatever you choose, whether you choose to do certain procedures or not, but they also give you enough information and everything that you just feel really good about every decision that you make, and that you feel really educated about every decision that you make. So they spend a lot of time with you. If they talk to you, they like to find out how you're feeling. Another thing that I like about the doctors is, about the midwives, is that they always check on your nutrition and make sure you're having a good, good nutrition, and for you and the baby. They will chat about depression. They will just anything really. They just check up on you, and they want to truly make sure you are doing well. They like to make sure that you have good support. They always ask me through my pregnancy, do you have enough support? Do you have someone to help you with the baby when the baby comes? Do you have this and that, etc., etc. They are so caring. Then kind of moving on from your appointments, they going into the actual pregnancy, labor, delivery, they have a pager number, at least where I go. So basically, anytime throughout your pregnancy or your labor, delivery, anytime you have any questions, or you're a little bit stressed, or you haven't felt the baby move and you're worried, especially if it's your first, etc., etc., you can just page this number, and there's always a midwife on call who is your midwife, who you've seen, who you've built a relationship with. They will pick up the phone, they will call you and talk to you and chat for hours if that's what you need. Sorry, the camera turned off for a sec. But basically, you can see that between the doctor and midwife, you're already getting so much support and constant attention from the midwives. And it's important, especially even if you're just like in the middle of the night and you go to the bathroom and you even just have like a little bit of blood in your underwear and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm miscarrying. Like, you just start panicking. You don't even know what to expect. And with the doctor, they're not on call in the middle of the night. So you have to go to emergency in the hospital and you're waiting 7 hours. While the midwife, you just call them and they say, what color is the blood? How much do you have? How are you feeling? Blah, blah, blah. And they will even come to your house if you are not feeling well enough to move or go somewhere. So it's amazing. Like I said, the pregnancy care and delivery care and all that you get is so intense, and they just always have them there no matter what time of day. Literally at like 2 a.m. you can call them. And you're talking to the lady who you've been seeing for, your whole pregnancy too. So kind of going on to the labor and delivery, they give you an option obviously to do it at home or to do it in a hospital or a birthing center. Wherever you want to have your baby, they will support it. And basically they come, so when you're in labor, you call them. So for me, my water broke, so I called her at 2 a.m. She said, okay, I told her how far apart my contractions are. She says, when your contractions start getting, maybe 5 minutes apart, give me a call and then head to the hospital and I'll meet you there. So I called her, I said, okay, we're heading to the hospital right now because my contractions just picked up. They meet you at the hospital. If they have time, they usually grab a coffee or something, and they will always, they brought me like coffee and donuts and whatever I needed. They brought me food to the hospital, and then they're there with you and they hold your hand and they are so supportive. And the best part is that midwives, all they do 100% is deliver babies, and they've delivered millions and millions and millions of babies, so they know how to do it. They know the best positions a woman should be, and they know if your baby is breech or turned or posterior, anterior, however, and you need to turn your baby, they know what to do. They know what's most comfortable. They know how to do a natural birth. So if you choose no medication, then they are there to support you and help you and tell you how to breathe to get through these contractions. If you choose medication, they're there to support you as well and get you that medication. So anything that you choose, they're supporting you, but the experience is so much more amazing and you do not feel rushed. So they were there by my side, holding my hand, telling me to breathe, telling me when to push, telling me literally everything. And it was the most amazing experience I've ever had. Especially comparing it to my first labor, it was by far like 1,000,000 times better. And yeah, they just know what's up, and it was amazing, and that's all I can really say about it. After I had the baby, the first thing, they're huge, is skin to skin. So before you do anything, they make that baby sit on you. He was on me for like 20 minutes and I was like, my stomach was hurting and everything because I was still getting contractions. So I was like, I kept saying to my husband, please take the baby off me. Like, I can't hold him anymore. I'm physically hurting. They're like, no, 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 keep the baby there. It's good for him or whatever. Like, they're big into that, which is really beautiful. They help you, obviously like deliver the placenta. They will stitch up your stitches if you need it. They can do that too. I didn't need any stitches because the second time around was just so much better, even though my baby was much larger than my first. And then what they also do after is they will go and fill out all the paperwork that you need. So you really have nothing to do. They bring you a few sheets of paper you just have to sign, basically for the health card and stuff, stating the baby's name, saying, yes, I had this baby, yes, I'm the mother. That's about it. And then they just leave you alone. So they're basically with you for 2 hours, whether you're in your home or in the hospital. They stay with you for those couple hours and make sure everything's fine, make sure you're healing, make sure you don't have any infections, and make sure you can go to the washroom, blah, 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 blah. So you're getting the exact same care. Now, while you have your midwives in the hospital, you still also have the nurses there, and they're taking care of you as well. They will help you go to the washroom, they will help you do whatever. So you're not just midwives and that's it. The beautiful thing about midwives is after you're in the hospital, actually with midwives, being in care of midwives, what is nice is that they also they give you the option to leave 6 hours after you've had your baby. So after I had my son, I was like, I just want to go home and I just want to be at my own home. I don't want like the nurses coming in and out and waking us up and waking the baby up and chatting and whatever. And the midwives give you that option. So they said, do you want to go home? I said, yes. And they said, all right, once we get all the results back and the baby seems fine, then you can pack up and go. And we got our results back. I think we were in the hospital for 8 hours total. Sorry, camera turned off again, yay me. But basically, yeah, they said once we get the results, then you can go home. We were there for like a total of 8 hours, I think maybe 10 hours actually. That's like labor, that's, you know, that's like pushing the baby out, that's pushing the placenta out, healing, tests, everything, finished, gone. And then we packed up and just came home. The beautiful thing is that night, the midwife said, we'll come to your home tonight and make sure you're okay. So they came to my house that night, which was good because I had postpartum depression. So they are so supportive, especially with depression. And she was totally, we're totally supportive. And we're like, we don't want you to have severe depression. We're going to come, we're going to talk with you. We'll just even come hold your baby if you need, whatever. So they came, they weighed the baby, make sure that he was eating. Sorry, this is a little bit crooked. I just want to fix it there. Made sure the baby was gaining weight and whatever, because they always lose in the beginning. So they weighed the baby, they just talked to me, made sure I was feeling okay, checked my uterus, like everything. They were so amazing. So they came, and then just to kind of finish up, they came every single day for the first 2 or 3 days. And then after that, they came every other day for the first, like for the rest of the week. And then after that, they came twice a week maybe or something. And then by 2 weeks postpartum, they stopped coming, and I went and had my final 6-week checkup with them. But during this whole time, they also called me on the phone. Breastfeeding was extremely hard for me because both my boys were tongue and lip tied, and they literally spent hours, like they come to your house and there's no limited time. So if you need 6 hours with them, that's how long they're staying. They would stay and they would literally sit for an entire feed, helping the baby latch on and telling me when to switch and making sure the latch is good and giving me options and giving me like nipple shields or syringes to feed the baby, anything that you needed. They have information about. They also had so much information about breastfeeding classes and about tongue and lip tie. I was like, I might want to get my babies like the frenulum snipped or whatever to help them with nursing and things like that. And they were like, oh, okay, we got a doctor. We're going to call him for you. We can book an appointment. Like, they were amazing. They 100% were amazing. And it was so sad. It was bittersweet. It was happy to have the baby and kind of be done with the whole like pregnancy checkups and stuff. But it was sad in the sense that I was like saying goodbye to them after I had him. They were like, bye, you know, we miss you, we'll miss you, you were beautiful, whatever. And it was kind of just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm done with it, because you build such a relationship because they truly care about you and spend so much time with you that they literally become almost like family. Like, it was really hard. But it's just so beautiful, and I would choose midwives over and over and over and over again, and I would recommend you do the same. But again, it just really depends on your preference and how comfortable you are. But if your doubt in your mind was that they are incapable, 100% that's not the case. They are so skilled, so capable, so fast, they're on the move. So even if there's complications, like, they are taking care of you. There is nothing to worry about. Especially that when you're in a hospital, most of the time with the doctor, you're just with nurses, and the doctor just comes to deliver the baby at the very end. So you don't really have a lot of support and stuff. The nurses, honestly, a lot of times don't really know what they're doing, especially if they haven't had a baby. So they can't tell you what positions to be in, or, you know, things like that. So that's just something to think about. But that basically sums up my, you know, the pros and cons of the doctors and midwives. And there honestly wasn't that many pros for me personally about being with the doctor. He was a great guy, nice doctor, but it didn't really work out well for us. But that's kind of everything I had to share with you. Basically what you can take away is one of the most beautiful things about going to see the midwives is the postpartum care that they give you, and they come to your house because obviously you're too exhausted to go anywhere. They will come to your house to check on you and weigh your baby and make sure breastfeeding is good and everything is happy, and they will call you if I told them I was depressed, so they called me every single day even when they weren't here, just to chat and check up on me. And then at the end when I said, you know what, I think I'm gonna just give my baby formula, breastfeeding isn't working out, they were supporting me with that too. They were like, we are here to do whatever you want, and it was just beautiful. So I hope you guys have enough information from this video to now go and make your decision about your care. If you choose a doctor, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and a lot of them are very great and amazing. And if you do choose a doctor, I really hope you find an amazing one and have an amazing birthing experience and pregnancy and all that. But if you do choose with midwives, I really do think you will definitely not regret your decision. But yeah, anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Sorry it was so long, but I just want to give you every little detail and give you enough information. But yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye.